And joining us now is former U.S. Member of Congress Dennis Ross, Director of the American Center for Political Leadership at Southeastern University. Representative Ross, thank you so much for joining us today. First off, what's your take on what we're seeing in D.C. right now in preparation of tomorrow's inauguration?
Well, it's highly unusual for it to be this way for an inauguration. I've been to a couple of them, and it's usually, regardless of who's being inaugurated, I was at Obama's and also Trump's. There's a lot of fanfare. There's a lot of celebration. There's a lot of crowds. This one, unfortunately, is a dark cloud that's covering the inauguration because of the events that have transpired in the last 2 weeks. I think it'll go well. I think it'll go without any violence, with any incidents of any nature. We as a nation need to move on. We need to start reconciling, and as the First Lady said today, we need to rally around what unites us. And I'm hopeful that this new incoming president, President Biden, will do that.
As far as the inauguration tomorrow, what do you think we can expect to see? We do know, of course, it's going to take on a much different look than we've seen in the past.
Oh, it'll be so much different. There won't be anybody on the mall. There'll be a lot of flags, which is an impressive view if you haven't seen it already. I know a lot of your viewers have. You will see a limited parade, a virtual parade, if you will. You'll see some celebration that'll be virtual, singing and of the guests that are there. Most of it will be virtual. The members of Congress and the Senate will be there in person predominantly. What you will see is what has always been the benefit of this nation, and that is the peaceful transfer of power. And I'm hopeful that that will gain some sense of confidence in the American people that we can rebuild and move on from here and become a better nation.
I know that you worked on President Donald Trump's transition team 4 years ago. Can you take us through that process and maybe talk a little bit about how this transition process has been different?
Well, it's interesting. When I was on the Trump transition team, there was only a handful of us that were originally, Trump supporters before he got elected. Afterwards, there was, rooms full of Trump supporters in Congress, and then you had to sort out who was really going to be there for the good of the nation or who was there just to follow coattails. I'm sure Biden will have the same thing. Biden has factions within his party, and he's got to placate some of them in order to be able to govern. So you'll see a transition that doesn't go all left or all to the middle. It'll be somewhere in between, in my opinion, in order to placate all those that are there. Remember, when we were in Congress, we had the majority. We had 237 members that were Republican. We only needed 218 votes, but we could never get 218 votes to get things done, such as health care reform and immigration reform. Biden and Schumer and Pelosi are going to have their hands full trying to keep their extremes in check. So this transition is going to take a while. Plus, I think you'll see with such a close vote in the Senate, it's going to be difficult, absent the filibuster rule being abrogated, to get much done in terms of appointments. And watch Senator Joe Manchin. He's the one that wants to make sure the filibuster rule stays around.
Okay, before I let you go, I want to have a lot of time left, but wondering, what do you think is next for President Trump? We do know that once he leaves the White House tomorrow, he plans to go to Florida, your state. What do you think will be his next act? Do you think he'll stay in politics?
I don't think he can ever get out of it. And his base, even though he emboldened them, and some of them did some violently awful things 2 weeks ago, his record, but for the tarnish of what happened 2 weeks ago, really has been pretty good in terms of our international relations, in terms of our economy, in terms of the rights for the unborn. He was the most aggressive president in that regard. If he will focus on the positives of his legacy of the 4 years he was there, he can help rebuild a Republican Party. Do I see him running again? I do not see him running again. Will he not do it? I don't know. He's one of the most unpredictable people in the world. I know that for a fact. But I think that he has an opportunity to help reconcile this nation. He did a lot of good for this nation, and he needs to focus and accentuate that.
Okay, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you so much. Former Congressman Dennis Ross, we thank you for your time.
Thank you.